social life is so important that you could argue that it's the most important thing. We have a fundamental need to belong. We suffer greatly if we don't have connection. Our physical health suffers, our emotional health suffers. We're really strongly motivated to make friends and build connections. And for a whole host of reasons, people can find themselves without connections, like without enough friends, without social support, without dating relationships. And those are really tough for us. And yeah, I think that might be happening because it's been pandemic and people have been shut off, isolated. They've like lost some of those connections. But also, people move. Like moving is a really challenging part of this. Like when you look at all the factors that lead people to feel lonely, moving is a really large factor. Like we sort of focus on like, I'm going to move and it's going to be this cool stuff and that cool stuff. But yeah, you leave behind all these connections you already had and maybe took for granted. Like I remember seeing some article from New York Times a few years ago that was basically this argument that any good, deep friendships will come from people that you met before you were 30. This idea that you will not make deep, close friends after 30, which I think is totally incorrect. Totally incorrect. That's not actually how it works. Might have been the writer's experience, but people do have this idea, right, of like, oh, well, yeah, all my friends are my friends from high school. You can't make friends as an adult. So I think people do find this challenging. Like, how do I make friends as an adult? And partly because I don't know how I made friends as a kid, or I don't know how I made friends in college. I don't have an understanding of it. Therefore, I don't know how to purposely do it now. I do what I did then, which is nothing and wait for it to happen, and then nothing happens. Because while it is, I think people do experience, it's hard to make friends in adulthood. It doesn't mean they can't do it. They just don't know how to do it, right? If you do know how to do it, then it is very much achievable. I move cities all the time. And so I do this, and I'm 44. Yeah, I'm 44, and I have so many like great lifelong friends from post 30 and from post 40. It is 100% achievable. The reason that you make friends as kids or college students, a large part of that is that it's just straight up repeated contact again and again. And it's mere exposure. Like there's research that if someone is in a classroom with you more times, you will feel more positively towards them, even if you never actually talk to them. We just get used to people. Like we all naturally have stranger anxiety, like social anxiety. And the more familiar someone becomes, just the better we feel towards them. And so humans in general, yeah, it's that over time, repeated contact, not big, great conversations, just like little bit. Like I definitely see this happening myself all the time. I'll see somebody, like I'll go to a coffee shop. I'll see them the first time or whatever, glance at it. The next time I'm like, it's that same person again. After a few times, you sort of look at each other and you like, you might nod or something. And then later on you end up sort of standing in line together and like, you just like over time, there's this little bit by little bit escalation, like graduated exposure of socializing. And after a while, you have a little conversation, you have a bigger conversation a few weeks later. It slowly escalates in a way it's not upsetting to either of you. It's no giant leaps. That's always one of my mantras, no giant leaps.